Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Rhonda.
You know, we need to make an evaluation after we've had worked through an issue, or maybe in the process of working through an issue, to ask our spouse, how do you feel like I came across? How was my presentation? Do you feel like I heard you well? Evaluating something after the fact and asking each other questions about how we came across really helps us to improve.
And if you can't really talk openly with your spouse, at least between you and the Lord, say, Lord, show me where I stirred things up in this last conversation.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we ask those questions that Sean was just mentioning, we get upset if the spouse doesn't ask me in return. It's like, well, who is this about? Am I serving myself and making demands on my spouse, or am I serving my spouse?
Yeah.
If I'm seeking to please my spouse, what if my spouse doesn't ask in return? Depends on where our spouse is in his or her growth as to whether they can handle it. Maybe I come across in a demanding or intense way and our spouse is concerned to open that up. So we might need to work on the way we approach our spouse if we really wanted our spouse to pursue us in the same way.
Wow. We got some verses that we want to share with you. This one's from Proverbs 15. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger.
And even the research shows that when we bring up something with a harsh startup, instead of a gentle startup, we're not likely to be heard.
Yeah.
And so it shuts off communication when we use a harsh voice.
In Ephesians chapter 5, he says, "Be imitators of God as beloved children, and live a life of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as an offering and sacrifice to God." If we're looking at imitating God in the way that he loved us, and that's the way that we treat our spouse, I think we're going to have a lot different result when we come to dealing with conflict.
And because you know what? When it gets challenging, that's where we see who we really are.
Yeah.
Am I mean? Am I harsh? Am I unkind? Or do I exhibit the fruits of the Spirit? Galatians 5:22 through 23, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Can we imagine how those things would impact the way husbands and wives work through issues if the fruit of the Spirit set the rules, set the pace for the way we interact?
Yeah. Man, what a good guide. In Psalm 139, he says, "Search me, O God, know my heart, try me and know my thoughts, and see if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." That's where we need to begin, is by looking within in our own heart and asking God to show us if there's anything that we need to do before we begin to work through an issue with our spouse.